Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be adding and subtracting with real numbers. You figure that students already know how to do it. Now, it is sort of funny though. You get into the ones toward the bottom where you have to get a common denominator, and I get students in pre-calculus who can't do that. It's sort of funny. I think those skills sort of go away over time. So I'm going to go through these first ones pretty quickly. I did example 1 just now while I was talking. There's not a lot to it when you're just adding two numbers. But I want you to pay close attention when you get down toward the bottom, because those are the skills that are going to go away over time. And you're going to be surprised. You're going to be in an upper level math class, and you're going to be shocked that you forgot how to do it. But you might, so you need to make sure you pay attention today. All right, now, I know we're getting into sort of the cheesy way of doing these problems without a calculator. That's fine. I'm just sort of going through the motions here, making sure we get these done and making sure we get them right. Example 3 is the first time that I think people really have trouble, because the rule states that if you are subtracting two numbers, you need to take the sign of the bigger number in your final answer. So it's really tempting to set it up like this and to treat it just like the last problem and say, well, the answer is going to be 15. But remember, whenever we're doing these problems and you are subtracting, your final answer needs to be the sign of the higher absolute value number. So, for instance, the way I talk about it is always with money. Positives are money you have, negatives are money that you owe. And so in this case, since in example 3 you have $17, but you owe $32, now you are 15 behind. Same thing here. You have $19, you owe $13. You're going to finish with 6, and in this case we can call it positive 6 because the money you have is more than the money you owe. Now, some teachers will also teach this with a number line. That's fine and good. That's a great way of doing it. I don't feel like drawing that many number lines, and I don't think you want to listen to me do that many number lines either. All right, so we get to example number 5 here. The answer is going to be what kind of 4, I guess, is the biggest question. And in this case, because I owe more than I have, I'm going to say the answer is -4. I have $10, I owe 14. So that means I owe more than I have. That means I currently have a negative amount of money, just like a whole lot of people in this country, but that's another conversation for another day. Example 6, 22 plus 13. I'm not going to write that one out. We can just add it together. It's 35, and then we take away 35. If you have 35 bucks and you spend 35 bucks, you now have $0. All right. Example number 7. If you're having trouble doing this problem without a calculator, make sure you put another decimal after the 2. That way you can get everything to line up. There was nothing that needed carried or anything like that. But if you want to make everything line up, that's going to be the best way to do it. So you end up getting 5.94. All right, now, example number 8. This is a subtraction problem here if you're going to work this out without a calculator. And when we're done setting it up and we get our answer, we're going to have to take the sign of the 3.33 because that is bigger than 1.94. That means when we're done, we have to make sure we take what we get for our final answer and we make it negative. So this is definitely something that you've done a lot in your life. I have a feeling you've seen these problems a million times. That's why I'm kind of working through it quickly. But make sure you get your final answer signed correctly. Correctly written on your paper. There you go. Example number 9, we're going to subtract first. 15.7 minus 11.4. I can just sort of cheat here and just write this directly underneath. There's not going to be a lot of math going on here. There was no borrowing, so I can just go straight across. And then 4.3 plus 4.3. It was tempting to make another problem work out to 0, but I decided instead I was going to have you add 4.3 and 4.3. That's the same as taking two of them, same as multiplying by 2, so you get 8.6. All right, we have fractions here, but they have the same denominator, so that's not going to be too crazy. 1/5 plus 3/5 is 4/5, and then you subtract 2 more fifths. So 4/5 minus 2/5. That looks to me like your final answer is going to be 2/5. All right, now let's get to the common denominator business. This one goes out to all of my pre-calc students who don't know how to get common denominators. It looks to me like 1/3 and 3/7 as they are right now, they cannot be added together. But if I turn them both into something over 21, it will work out much better. Now, how do you turn a 3 into a 21? You multiply it by 7. But whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Okay, there you go. I say that about 1,000,000 times per year. All right, how do you turn a 7 into a 21? You multiply it by 3. But whatever you do... Okay, I'm done. 3 times 3 is 9. So what we have here is 7/21 plus 9/21. And now that we have a common denominator, we can finish the deal. All right, last problem on the paper. 3, 4, 5. You need a common denominator for these. And it looks to me like we're going to have to go a long way to get it. Now, some people might prefer breaking it down 2 at a time, but I would like to just get this problem over with. So I am going to turn them all into 60s, which means the question I have, how do you turn a 3 into a 60? Well, you multiply it by 20. And whatever you do to the bottom, okay. So that's going to give you 40/60. Over here, you're going to need to multiply the 4 by the 15. You're going to need to multiply a 3 by 15. Because we're trying to get a common denominator for all 3 of these. There you go. And then to turn a 5 into a 60, you multiply by 12 on bottom and on top. Yikes, that's going to be a pretty big number here. You end up getting, when it's all said and done, 40 plus 45 is 85, plus 48 is 133/60. Now, if you have a teacher who would like your final answer as a mixed number, then it would be 2 whole ones, because 60 goes into 133 twice. Then the leftover would be 13/60, so you would call it 2 13/60. Now, personally, I am a big fan of the improper fraction, because when you get into higher level math, it won't be considered improper at all. It'll pretty much be considered normal. So I'm fine with leaving it that way, but again, make sure you are following your particular teacher's directions. All right, thanks for joining me. I hope this helped you, and good luck the rest of the way.